girls, it's Hailey Reese, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am truly so grateful that you are here, and I hope that you are having an absolutely beautiful morning, afternoon, or night, whatever it is for you when this video finally reaches you. Welcome back, you guys, to yet another video in our 31 days of Halloween here on my channel, where I am uploading a new video every single day from now until Halloween. And while we are on the final stretch of this 31 days of Halloween, we are just getting started with the spooky and bone-chilling content. So if you enjoy my videos, make sure that you are subscribed down below. And if you are subscribed, be sure to double check that your post notifications are on. And with that being said, today we are diving into an absolutely terrifying haunted doll experience, except this one is much different in a number of ways than any other that we've dove into. You know, in the past, we've talked about haunted dolls that have been kept contained for a very, very long time. Haunted dolls whose energies and spirit have been contained. And then we've covered haunted dolls experiences that have ended absolutely terribly. But this particular experience is ongoing, and what makes this one so much more terrifying is that this family not only has had an encounter with a haunted doll, but has let the haunted doll's energy and spirit out. Now, we've talked a number of times about how human spirits, human souls, do not typically choose to inhabit inanimate objects. It just doesn't happen. It's not what tends to happen. And so oftentimes when there are haunted dolls and haunted doll experiences, it is that of a dark demonic force or a very, very low vibrational entity. And unfortunately, it seems as though that was exactly the case with this experience. It seems like there was a very, very dark, dare they say evil entity kept contained inside of this doll, inside of this case. And unfortunately, it seems as though the family has let that evil out. So today we are going to dive into what has happened up until now. And of course, this is ongoing, so I will make sure, should you guys want more follow-ups on this, that we keep up with it, because it seems like this is the start of what's going to be a lot of really terrifying updates. So with all of that out of the way, sit back, relax, maybe turn a light on, because believe me when I say this story is about to get dark. And so it begins. Growing up, we had a doll in our house. A beautiful, mysterious little doll. But unlike any of my dolls, this one was my mom's. The doll sat in our living room in a case that was always locked. My mom told us that we were never to touch the doll, never to open the case, and that it must always stay locked inside of it. As a little girl, this upset me deeply. I really couldn't understand why we had a doll in the middle of our living room that wasn't allowed to be played with as dolls were meant to. In fact, a lot of my childhood was like this. I grew up in a very strict household that I felt I had to hold my breath in. A lot of the things weren't meant for us to be touched, or for us to have any sort of relation with whatsoever. These were adult things that kids weren't meant to play with. But it confused me because dolls were meant for children too. And this doll stayed watching us in the living room. I remember one day my sisters and I finally tried to sneak a grab at the doll. My older sister had found the key, and we thought maybe we could play with it just once without Mama knowing. We were wrong, though. Mama knew right away, came in, and screamed. A scream I'd never heard Mama scream before. She grabbed our arms so hard it hurt and would later bruise, and looked at us in a way our mother never had. Our mother was strict, but hardly cruel. And this look on her face, well, Mama was angry. She screamed at us once again, but once she realized we'd never got the case opened, she seemed to calm a bit. Instead of yelling any further, Mama ran away and would return with our grandmother. She was equally upset, sat us girls down, and told us the story, that this doll was not like any other doll we'd seen. She explained the doll was inhabited by a dangerous spirit, one that preys specifically on the souls of children. She said that she wasn't sure how the doll had came to be, but she was sure that evil was contained as long as that case stayed locked. My sisters were terrified, but I never believed it. I would stare for days and watch the doll, and it never did anything that some dangerous spirit could do, or anything any sort of haunted doll could do. I was convinced it was just another story they would tell us kids to keep us away from another antique thing, the adult stuff that kids shouldn't touch. And I mean, it worked. The way they acted about the doll made me hate it. I never wanted to play with that thing. So imagine my shock when I realized it was mine to keep after the loss of my mother. My mom had gotten this doll from her mother, whom had got it from her mother, and so it had been passed down. I didn't want to take the thing, but death is a crazy thing, and my grief couldn't let me throw it out. I found it strange, though. I'd heard that the doll was meant to go to the oldest child, and yet in the will, the doll was left to me. The only thing I wasn't keen on was the fact that I also knew the doll was required to live in the family living room. For whatever reason that was, I still don't know why. By the time I eventually got the doll, the thing really did feel like just any other passed down antique. Something you would get from your parents but likely wouldn't touch. Instead, it would collect space and dust somewhere in your house until you'd pass it to your kids. And that's where I thought the doll would stay forever. Sat there in my living room, collecting dust and taking up space until the end of time. 'Cause I never imagined anything of mine would be passed down to my kids. I never even thought I could have kids, honestly. My struggle with infertility was one I never thought I'd get past. And yet, one day, there I was, with my beautiful baby girl in arms. Avery was everything I always knew I wanted, but I never thought I'd have. And from the moment she was born, my sole purpose was to give her everything and anything I possibly could. That is, and will always be, my soul's sole purpose. Avery was special from the moment she was born. Avery knew things that most kids wouldn't. When our family dog was sick, Avery knew before I even had to tell her. And when I asked how, she said that he had told her it was his time to go soon, to be with the angels. When my cousin died, Avery woke in the night, knowing she was gone before I'd even gotten the news myself. She was connected, and her light shined so bright. All the things that I never had, I wanted Avery to have. I'm realizing now that may have came to my fault. One day, Avery started asking me about the doll in the living room. It was strange. It had always been there since she was born, but somehow now she wanted to talk about it. Now that she had turned 10, it was as if she suddenly noticed it. She asked why it was locked up, and I really didn't have an answer. I tried to tell her it was just how it had always been, and that that's how the doll is supposed to stay. Avery seemed sad by this, and I saw my little self in her. That answer didn't satisfy her whatsoever. much like it hadn't me. She explained that she really wanted the doll, and she felt like it was a waste letting it stay locked up. Little me agreed. I thought about telling her what I'd been taught about the doll and the evil inside, but I just knew that it wasn't true, or so I thought, and I didn't want to scare my daughter like they had tried to scare me. I told Avery that it was special, but it needed to stay in the living room inside of its case. But for weeks, Avery kept on insisting how much she wanted the doll and how she would take the best care of it. I felt bad because, like I said a million times, I agreed. Dolls were meant to be played with. And that night, I had a dream that felt so real, which was weird, because I don't dream ever. The little doll was out of its case and in Avery's arms. The doll and Avery were both telling me that it was okay, that my mother and grandmother were old school when I grew up. Avery seemed so happy in the dream. The dream felt so real, and I never wanted to leave that feeling of bliss. All I ever wanted was to give the child I prayed so hard for everything she ever wanted. I woke up feeling sad that I was letting some old tale keep my kid from being happy, so I decided the cycle ends there. I got up, I went downstairs to get the doll, and I placed it on Avery's bedside table for when she woke up. The bedside table was a few feet from her actual bed, might I add. When Avery woke, she shrieked. She was so excited she couldn't contain herself. She carried the doll with her out of the door and thanked me for putting it into her bed and tucking it in with her. I found the comment weird, but I knew what she meant. Bedside table, bed. I thought same thing, and I let it go. Avery and that doll became inseparable. All she ever did was talk to the doll. My once social child just now completely locked herself away to play with the doll. And I didn't mind a thing of it, though. She seemed happy, and that was more than I could ever ask for. In the coming weeks, though, things would start to change. There would be steps in the hall at night, and weird noises coming from outside my bedroom door. But not normal noises. Noises that made my hair on my arms stand up, like something was wrong. Mama bear instincts, if you will. When I would get up to go check on Avery, Avery would be sound asleep. But on multiple occasions in the hallway, there was the doll. I couldn't understand it when Avery would tell me that the doll liked to walk at night, and I would stop dead in my tracks when she'd explain. Slowly, I told her that this wasn't normal and that the doll should go back inside the case. I don't even know why that came out of my mouth, but something seemed wrong. Suddenly, my once beautiful, angelic-looking daughter changed face straight in front of me. It was as though her face totally mutated, and while it was still her beautiful features, there was now a darkness to them. I was looking at my daughter, but I didn't feel her soul. Out of her body, she snarled, "You thought you could lock me up, but it was only a matter of time. I always knew your weakness would feed me." I looked at my daughter and screamed for her to stop it, but her face just changed more and more as she started to laugh, and her laughter turned to screams as I ripped the doll from my hysterical daughter's arms. I took the doll and I ran and I locked it back in the case, and there it remained. But the evil energy in my home only began to fester and grow. What I didn't realize, and I know now as I write this, is that I have now let a darkness out of that doll, one that I am learning has been trapped in there for decades. Whatever was inside that doll formed an evil attachment to my child. She says it called to her from inside the case to befriend her, and it would beg her to let it out. I'd forgotten just how dark the story that they told me with the doll was because I had been resentful towards it, thinking it wasn't real. I'd forgot that it preyed on children and their souls. If I thought it could be real, I never would have gave it to my Avery. We called my cousin a few days ago and learned quickly the dark history of this doll. It seems years before an evil spirit had been captured within the doll and locked within the protective case to contain it. Over the years, it's been passed through my family, to the daughters as it passed down. It's meant to be kept locked in their living rooms. Why? We never knew. My cousin thinks she can get the journal that details everything about the doll from one of my great aunts. We're still waiting to hear from that. When I let the doll out of the case, I fear I let an evil out, as nothing has been the same since. As I write this, I sit with my cousin and my sleeping daughter. As I write this, she stirs and dreams, and she tells me as she wakes each time that the doll says there will be consequences for this. I don't know what to do. I am terrified that it is coming for her. So much more has happened, but I'll end the entry here for now. Some say that it's all in my head, that it's always been in my family's head, while others claim the worst is likely yet to come. What do we do? We're terrified. We can't sleep, and the evil is growing stronger by the day. What did I let out? And how do I lock it back again? And that is the most recent update as of today. So what it is that they've let out, absolutely nobody knows. I'm sure more details will come forward if they do discover the journal that has everything written in it, and if they can talk to family members to better understand where the doll came from, how it got passed. But it seems wild to me that if you were to leave somebody a doll of this sorts in your will, that you wouldn't leave some sort of details saying, hey, you know that story I told you when you were a little girl? It was actually real. Don't mess around with the doll. I don't know. Maybe she was supposed to have gathered as an adult that there's a reason all these grown adults abide by the doll's rules. But nonetheless, this story is absolutely terrifying, and I am so curious to know what you guys think down below. So with that being said, make sure to comment down below and let me know what you guys think of this, what you think they should do, what you think of the experience, and do you guys want to hear more if they do end up sharing more from this situation. Make sure to let me know that down below too. And that is it for today's video. If you guys are new to my channel, or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my content, I would really appreciate it if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button, and please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness, and until tomorrow, I love you. Bye, guys.